As I previously said, I will talk a bit about my stories, what I want to write, and this time the topic will be slightly ambiguous or simply unfocused, as what I'm about to be covering here today has a few possible avenues of approach. I am simply going to briefly mention it and most likely return to it at some point in the future. And it is about equipment management. It ties to a few of the previous topics about having proper tools for the right job and also competency in general of my characters. And it also means taking care of whatever weapons, armor, and tools they carry around for these adventures of theirs, and the fact that they have to keep them in a good shape for this equipment to serve its purpose and in turn protect and serve its owner. That means keeping the blades sharp, lacing the various projectiles with the right type of venom or poison, keeping their armor and other guards and tools for direct protection holeless, taking care of their shoes because those are extremely important, obviously, in dangerous environments, carrying and maintaining sources of light, having tools to repel or counter some of the possible threats they might encounter, and making sure that those are also in a good shape, usable, and either doing all that by themselves because in my mind some of these skilled, trained, experienced hunters and risk takers might want to do just that rather than entrust their lifelines to someone else, even a professional. On the other hand, a portion of them might want to simply focus on excellence in that one regard, which is utilizing the aforementioned for survival and gain. So to those it might seem redundant or downright detrimental to also spend their energy and also to learn how to do it properly themselves so they have companions or they pay someone to do it for them. All this is another source of differences between the characters of my stories, and each approach could have its own pitfalls, would have, there would be consequences, strife could occur, and even with the best maintenance imaginable, the equipment could and should occasionally even fail, which these allegedly competent people should be accounting for, have contingency plans. Some might even live by the rule of only ever count on yourself, your own body, and make sure that that never fails you. So they would never rely on anything outside of what they can procure for themselves in the wilds, as any blade can snap, any shield can shatter, but if your fist breaks, it simply means that you have not exercised hard enough, were not prepared well enough for that encounter, and that could be another sect of characters. Obviously, this in itself is nothing new, but I would have to go out of my way to make it unique because that is all I am about. The do it yourself sect could even have a section of the story dedicated to them actually crafting and procuring the necessary items for them for their journey, maybe even go into the learning process. Nevertheless, though, this is absolutely something that I want to carefully address in my writing and end up making it make sense. Now, for the scary part of this video, the last chapter of Rapid Arrows, this one requiring a bit of an introduction as the art is from a different person and it is, how should I put this, weird. The characters look absolutely nothing like themselves and their faces are honestly a bit scary, almost haunting. So without their usual signature recognizable features such as their clothing and their hairstyles, it would be difficult to associate them with the boys from the rest of the book. With that said, they are outside somewhere in the woods on a meadow where Yindra and Redcap are play grappling, honing their warrior spirit when Mirag begins urging them to finish it because the sun is setting and they need to return home before it gets actually dark. So as they pack their bags, Speedy, the one in charge of Sly Boots that day, attempts to, well, be the master in their relationship, calling him to heel, but the dog seems to be interested in something else, somewhere else, as noted by Indra, a statement which Speedy attempts to deflect. Said statement by, I believe that by is used here, insinuating that Sly Boots might not be the sharpest tool in the shed, a statement of its own, one that earns him swift retribution from karma, as on his first step he stumbles, and as he is in the middle of the process of falling down, he cusses slightly, almost stumbled here, someone less athletic might have actually taken a nosedive right there. Never want to admit it, always graceful. Well, it is getting dark, and once they reach a vista overlooking their city, someone points in the direction of the shades, and rumors are circulating that something dangerous is brewing in there. Accounts of weird and bad things happening. One person even says that he can just barely make out something that is very prominent in the books, but has not been really mentioned here in the comic. The threatening song of the Vonts. That is how the boys of the Shades call themselves. A bit later, a last minute decision or a proposition of Mirax is to quickly stop by the club room, make some tea, and play a game or two, or play some songs. As they are approaching the familiar door, they see a figure of an old friend of theirs from the Shades. Apparently have been waiting there for them for quite some time, in desperate need of assistance, which is something they learn after they exchange pleasantries as they are on very friendly terms with this person. His name is Losna and they invite him inside so that he can share his worries with them, ideally over a cup of something warm, when all are sitting around the table with a lamp in the center. He begins his tale of strife, of subversion, saboteurs, as the election of the next Great Vonta is rapidly approaching, mostly because the current one is simply incapable of maintaining the peace, which is rather fragile in that district. According to Losna, he's being weighted down by some terrible secret by a concern of sorts. Unfortunately, he's unwilling or unable to share his worries with anyone, not even with those from his inner circle, which obviously only serves as an escalation of the ongoing conflict. And this is the reason for his visit, as the Rapid Arrows assisted the Great Vonta before. They have significant influence in the Shades. That is because of the stories of the first two books. They happen simultaneously to some of the adventures of this comic book, and I am going to go over them in the future videos. For now though, our heroes promise to revisit the Shades and assist the Great Vonta with everything they have, with all their strength, and that is the beginning of a great saga and of their last adventure from the pen of Jaroslav Voglar, as there are only three books depicting the adventures of the Rapid Arrows Club, in the same manner as there is only one Predator movie, only two Aliens movies, and so on and so forth. Also, the completely different art style and the tone of the chapter, not really a story of its own, more like an introduction to the book, leads me to believe that it was added much later on, maybe even in haste, but nevertheless, from the next video it will be about the books and more about grammar and storytelling as well.